You are watching the New American Media. Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. Thanks for joining us today. I am your host, Brian Engelman, and you are listening to Juice Media Rap News number 15. Go check that out. It's about Big Brother. Big Brother brings chilling effects, freezing our collective hopes. Yeah, they do some good work over there, but thanks for joining us today. My name is Brian Engelman. As I said, thanks a lot for joining us. This is the Unhappy Hour, and we're going to talk a little bit of basketball. We're going to talk with NBA scout and lifelong Cleveland sports fan Zak Baris. Talk about Mike Brown getting fired after 5 games. That's pretty crazy. And talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers starting off okay, and then a few key injuries, and anything else NBA. A little bit later, we're going to be joined with Mark Claire from Lions of Liberty and Blake the Eccentric Wally from FreedomizerRadio.com. And we're going to talk about a whole host of interesting things. Benghazi, General David Petraeus resigning, maybe Hillary Clinton, Eric Holder, Timothy Geithner as well. Election reaction, an Iranian drone attack that we weren't told about before the election. Price gouging during Sandy, and a whole bunch of other stuff, but that'll be on another show. So if you're not following us on Twitter, we're at American_media_, and if you're not subscribed to us on YouTube, please do that, youtube.com/The New American Media. And check out our homepage, thenewamericanmedia.com. We're going to bring in Zak Baris to the program right now. Get right into the sports.
Hello?
Hey, Zach, it's Brian with the New American Media. You are live on the air, sir. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I just got my new phone, so I'm trying to figure it all out. Like, literally just called as it was updated, just as it finished updating. So.
All right, which one did you get?
I got the new iPhone 5.
iPhone 5, so you can take those panoramic photos and just spin around.
Well, that's what I was looking forward to, yeah. That's the only reason I bought it.
Yeah, I was actually looking at some pieces of land in the past month. A few acres here and there, looking at some spots, and my brother has the new iPhone 5, so he did some panorama shots that we were able to send around.
This phone is just really confusing so far. I'm just like, I couldn't even find the headphone jack, so I'm good now.
It's all good. Well, welcome. Thanks for joining us again. By the way, you guys can follow Zach. He's on Twitter. He's at ZBaris. That's ZBARIS. Zach, I kind of said we got 2 topics mainly to talk about here. One is the Lakers firing Mike Brown after 5 games, and the other one is about the Cavs. So which of those would you like to start with?
Let's talk about the Cavs.
Okay.
Hold on just one second.
Yeah, sure thing. So what we're going to do, we're going to talk about the Cavs. Kyrie Irving, Dion Waiters, Tyler Zeller, and Anderson Varejao rebounding like a champion. But the Cavs have recently had a few injuries to deal with, so it's a bit of a mixed bag to start the season. So, Zach, what are you taking away from this early season? I was fortunate enough where I think the game I watched on TV, you were at live, the Clippers game, and they looked really impressive. They battled, and Dion Waiters carried them. It was a pretty good game. What are your thoughts on the Cavs so far this year?
I have to say, I'm impressed. They've been exceeding expectations so far early. I know they're only 2-3, but I can tell you they hung with Golden State without Varejao, without Zeller. I was shocked to see that. They hung in there once again. This is not a bad basketball team. Yes, they have major depth issues and they lack any sort of bench. Byron Scott basically has them playing an 8-man rotation right now, a strict 8-man rotation. What you see about guys like Samardo Samuels getting about 4 minutes a game, and Omri Caspi getting a couple minutes, but Luke Walton down to nothing is how it should be. But, like I said, this team is not far away from being competitive. At least their starting lineup isn't. Varejao looks to be a rejuvenated player, basically after not playing much of the last 2 seasons. He looks phenomenal so far in the early going. I just don't think they want to rush him back. And, he looks like a dominant power forward / center. Tristan Thompson's had some growing pains early on, but I think he'll overcome them. I think it's just a matter of time. He's one of those guys that's going to take a little while, but he really hasn't impressed me much so far. But he impressed me at the end of last season. I think he'll do the same this year. Alonzo G's doing what Alonzo G normally does, but let's talk about the backcourt, which really matters.
Wait, before we talk about the backcourt, what was that? Alonzo G does what Alonzo G does. What was that phrase? Because I'm thinking we should make some T-shirts.
He's an efficient player. He's not a great shooter, but he's not a great ball handler either. But he can take the ball to the hoop. He plays great defense, especially on Chris Paul the other night. Kyrie Irving was giving up everything to Chris Paul, and as soon as Byron Scott made the switch, Paul started to struggle, and I think it's a big. I just think it's having an asset like Alonzo G to be able to defend one of probably the league's most athletic point guard was just it was honestly it was a sight to see. It was it was impressive. I have to say I was honestly impressed by it.
Well, let's talk about the backcourt then.
Dion Waiters has been phenomenal. Right now he's been the second best rookie behind Damian Lillard. And the only reason I put him in second instead of third is because Anthony Davis really hasn't played much. But the other night, the Cavs-Clippers game, if you watch this kid and you watch Waiters play, you just go, wow, he's going to be a superstar. That's all everybody kept saying was he's going to be a superstar. If he manages to progress like he has, and he's, don't forget, this is a kid who started 5 career games at the pro level. He didn't start any college games. He's really, really surprised me so far in what he can do on the offensive end. He's got quick hands defensively. He managed to get to the hoop really well. And his outside shot looks incredible. That's what I have to say about Waiters.
Cold-blooded.
Kyrie Irving is doing what I expected Kyrie Irving to do. Put up all-star-like numbers, even superstar-like numbers. He's young. He's unbelievable. He's resilient. Anything that happens to Kyrie, he comes back, bounces back harder. The next quarter, and he's just better. But that's what we all expected that out of Kyrie Irving. He has such high expectations, and you can't expect anything less because of what he did last year. So he looks to be he's putting up better numbers than last year. He's progressing well. He's a great scorer. He's got an amazing shot. Everything about Kyrie Irving just has that wow factor about it.
Absolutely.
And Dion Waiters is starting to say the same thing. You're just like, wow, maybe the Cavaliers knew what they were doing. When they made this pick, I don't think Chris Grant has too many doubters right now after watching Zeller and Waiters play in the early going. Both, Zeller looks like a serviceable starter in the league someday and a very good backup at that. And that's what you get for the 17th pick, or I think it was 16 or 17 where they picked him. And, and look what you're getting out of Dion Waiters. He's playing like a future all-star. And, you have all these writers from ESPN right now, all over the place, just writing great articles about how dominant the Cavaliers' backcourt is going to be within the next 2 to 3 years.
I was really impressed. He looks like a cold-blooded sharpshooter. He has a bit of a chip on his shoulder. You can tell. I saw him jaw at somebody after he came down and made a really big shot. I think it was a 3 late in the third quarter, maybe the beginning of the fourth quarter. And Waiters just knocked down another really difficult, high-arching three-point shot, and they showed him on the camera when he came back, and he was jawing with somebody, just kind of like, yeah, what do you got? And it's like, this guy's a competitor. You can tell. Some people have that competitive instinct to fight, and other people just kind of, they don't have it. You can't really teach that.
Well, and that's why it's all about motivation, and I think that's a big factor in Dion Waiters' game, because the talent's there. You've seen flashes of him before.
I know it now. I didn't know it before.
His talent is there. His drive to the basket is phenomenal. He can go left better than anyone in this league. He's got a great drive to the basket, and the talent there. It's just whether the motivation, the work ethic's there, and that's the problem with a lot of these NBA players, which you've seen for years. You've seen the talent all over the place. And I'm going to mention a guy right now who had all the talent in the world but showed no work ethic and no desire to improve, and he was uncoachable. And that's Darius Miles. And it's just honestly, it's like, you're looking at what, you always thought, what could Darius Miles do as a pro? And it was, he had all that talent but no drive. And it's nice to see with Waiters so far. It's a guy who wants to improve, and he's getting better with every game. Obviously there's going to be a couple hiccups and, side steps along the way, but he really has impressed me so far. And I've been fortunate enough. I've watched, every Cavs game. The only game I was not impressed with them was the Bulls game, and I kind of knew coming in that the Bulls were probably going to destroy them. They just don't match up well against Chicago.
Right. Well, you
and Chicago. Chicago's just a better team with more experience on every single level than the Cavs. Other than maybe the point guard position without Derrick Rose right now, but they dominated the Cavs at the forward position. They just have more depth at the 4 and the 5, and the Cavaliers just cannot compete with a team like that.
Well, you were talking about the motivation of what was that, Darius Miles. I was at a park out here in Los Angeles. They put in a new park underneath some power lines. Went and checked it out, and just kind of hanging out. There's all this equipment over there, and one of the guys is talking to one of his other friends, and he says, "Yeah, worked in financial investments, and a lot of NBA players. Trajan Langdon." I'm like, holy crap, did I really just get a Trajan Langdon reference out here in Los Angeles? And then Darius Miles bringing it back up. And it's like, for every LeBron James
Trajan Langdon was a
Irving.
bright guy, though. He went to Duke. He was well-educated, smart guy. And, he was just, he had the injury bug bite him, but he was decent early in his career.
Yeah, well, it's nice to see Anderson Varejao coming back. Talk about the injuries. Anything serious? What's Zach?
I don't believe anything is serious at this point. We haven't heard anything. Like I said, I don't work for the Cavs. I'm not in their front office, so I can't tell you. I can just tell you stuff what I've heard from from with my coworkers, what we've been hearing, and nothing sounds serious. So I wouldn't worry too much about the Cavaliers right now, injury-wise. I think they're just taking precautions and they're being safer than they were in years past. Anything small with Varejao. There's no reason. Like I said, the Cavaliers are not a championship caliber team. There's no reason to rush it this year. There really isn't. So you want to keep your guys in the best possible shape all season. You want to keep them well rested. That's why they're doing what they're doing.
Absolutely. Well, you're
going to see Irving sit some games this year. At this point too. If they feel on maybe back-to-back nights, and and they feel he's just gone too hard and he's just exhausted. Byron Scott's not going to be afraid to sit him. He did it last year with some of his guys. But, it's better to lose a guy for 1 game than it is for 15 games. Just remember that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, talking about 15 games, Mike Brown only got 5 games. I guess he had his 8 games in the preseason. So let's do this. Unless you have any other thoughts on the Cavs, from the injury to their start, I think we've pretty well covered it by saying Kyrie Irving is the real deal.
I just want to let you know I might lose you in the next 10 seconds. If I do, I'll have you call back. My phone is downloading something, so I just want to make sure it doesn't reset. But I just want to let you know.
All right. If there's a hiccup, we'll understand, and we'll get right back to you. But the highlights so far on the Cavs, to sum it up in bullet points, Kyrie Irving is a stud. We know this. Dion Waiters.
Future superstar Kyrie Irving.
Yes.
Dion Waiters has very, very high potential. I'll tell you that he's got all-star level potential, maybe even higher than that someday. I mean, from what I've seen early on, that doesn't mean he will be, but from the potential I've seen early on, from what he did to the Clippers the other night, outplaying Jamal Crawford, who's had a phenomenal season, and going against the Clippers with the Cavaliers shocking me, just because of the depth issues the Cavs have compared to the Clippers, whose bench run, 10, 11 deep. They have the deepest team in the league. They're not the best team, but they're the deepest. And to watch the Cavaliers outplay the Clippers bench with their starting lineup and just going out there and playing 40 minutes was just a sight to behold. Like I'm just saying right now, I was incredibly impressed with the team and with Byron Scott's game plan going into that game.
Yeah, and I'll say
they held their own.
It's way better than watching the Cleveland Browns lose to the Ravens again. You get tired of not seeing the progress, and it's like, well, we were competitive.
We
were
Pat
competitive.
Shurmur, that's Pat Shurmur's, I'm pretty sure he's trademarked the word progress by now.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's bounce over to this. We'll take a quick commercial break just for station identification here, and we'll come back in a couple of seconds. And I want to get into this Mike Brown thing because it has a Cleveland connection. Obviously, I'm wondering if the Mike Brown firing after 5 games into this season, how that reflects upon the Cavs organization in the LeBron James era. If it puts it into perspective, coaching wise, and what the Lakers are going to do from here, because it's right in our backyard, Zach, living out here in Los Angeles. So we'll just pause for a brief moment, and we'll come right back. If you're not following Zach and you like the NBA, please do that. He's at Zak Baris. That's ZBARIS on Twitter. If you're not following us, we're American_media_. Check out our homepage, thenewamericanmedia.com. And if you're listening to this after the fact, thank you. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/thenewamericanmedia. We'll be back with Zak Baris talking Mike Brown, Los Angeles Lakers, then maybe even just do a grab bag of Buckeyes and Indians, and who knows where we'll go after that in just a moment.
You are listening to The New American Media.